Do you run a service based business that relies on appointments showing up in order to close deals? This video is for you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jennifer Waters. I've built multiple seven figure companies, and I have actually helped over 550 other clients around the world hit high six and seven figures. And something that they always come to me about is, how do I improve my show rate, Jennifer? Whether we're running their ads for them or they're trying to do it organically, this is always an issue. In this video, I'm going to show you not only how to get more people to show up to your appointments so you can close more deals, generate more revenue, and even hit your first seven figures. I'm also going to show you how to handle no shows and what you can do to recover those appointments that you've already spent money generating. How can you get that money back? And the third thing is something that you absolutely never would have thought that's actually holding you back from getting more showed appointments. So let's dive in. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is how to actually get more people showing up to your appointments. Now, one of the most fundamental things that you're going to do to close more deals is actually getting in touch with someone to set an appointment. Now, there's two different ways that people go about setting appointments. One is a completely unmanned version. One way is completely automatic. The other way is we've had some sort of human touch along the way. Like maybe we reached out to them via phone. We had some sort of text messaging that was going back and forth where they felt a human connection. My least favorite way is what I said over here, automatic. For example, maybe you have a website right now and someone can go in and they can book an appointment with you. Those are the least likely to show unless they have some point of human connection. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. The people that are over here on this side, however, maybe you reached out to them because they submitted their information through your website, through an ad online, something like that. And now you've done a reach out to connect with this person. You're dialing them over the phone, you're texting them, you're doing something like that to generate a conversation with this person. This person's more likely to show. Now, if we go to a further example here, if I were to have somebody that not only I spoke to over the phone, but also I had some sort of transaction on the phone before they even show to the appointment, well, they're the most likely to show because they've already given you money. They've already secured their spot, even if it's a deposit. So we have completely unmanned, no reason to really show to the appointment other than their own urgency for solving the problem that they may have, all the way to the other end of, well, dadgum, I'm going to show up to this appointment because I paid them money, right? So really wide range. And so when it comes down to figuring out how do I improve my show rate, when clients come to me for my help with this, I have to know where we are on this spectrum, because if I give you advice over here, but really you're over here and they're already paying an appointment, paying you something before they even come to the appointment, the advice is going to be completely wrong. So I'm going to start on this end over here. This is completely automatic. They're booking in an appointment. Like for online service providers, you may be doing a book a call funnel, which is you have a video ad, they go to a landing page, they get an appointment time where they can book an appointment. So we're going to start there and then we'll go all the way to the other range. And if you get value at any point out of this video, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. There's a ton of you that watch this channel that aren't subscribed. So go ahead and do that. So over here, if we're doing that book appointment, call funnel or something like that, you have to realize that as soon as this person books the appointment, there has to be something that you're doing to reach out to this person and connect. If you leave that person alone, the likelihood they are actually going to show up to your call, to your appointment that you have, is very, very low. We're talking 10, 20% appointment show rates, which means that if you had 10 people that booked on that page, only one or two of those of the 10 are going to show up without any additional prompting. And the reason why is because they have their own internal desires or burning pain points that are motivating them to show up. It's nothing that you did. They would have showed up anyway. But how do we get this closer to a 40%, a 50%, a 60%, a 70% show rate? How do we actually get in those ranges? We have to create human connection. We have to get those people who aren't really clear about what their desires are and aren't very clear about what their pain points are, to recognize what those things are, and to stir up that internal desire to show up. If someone is marginally motivated, this might be a good thing versus someone who is, I need help with this immediately. As I heard Dan Henry say before, is this something where they have an emergency? Like they're going to go to the hospital because if they don't go to the hospital, something dire is going to happen to them. If that's the case, then we have to make sure that we create that urgency for other people that may not be at that same level. So, my first step is going to be install something where there's human connection, or my favorite, an AI advantage, where I've got AI reaching out to this person as soon as they've booked. Now, some other things that you're going to want to do to increase that urgency for someone, but the things that I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are in six figures trying to get to seven figures do is with a funnel like that, they try to overqualify people in the beginning. And that gets, they'll say, oh, well, that's going to improve the quality of my call. Those are two different scenarios. If you have too many leads and too many unqualified people showing up, you have to tighten down on the funnel. If you don't have anybody showing up, you need to get that thing as wide as possible because you don't have anybody flowing through. And we need to work on the issues that are actually causing people to not show before we tighten down on a funnel and further deteriorate the results that we are getting. So keep it as wide open as possible until you've actually solidified the show rate issue. Then you can tighten up on everything else. Now let's go over here to somebody who's like, okay, I've got a lead generation form that's out there, maybe a website where um, they're booking the appointment, or maybe I'm not even getting the appointment booked. They're submitting their information, and then I'm reaching out to book the appointment. And I finally get in touch with them because we know it takes, 5, 7, 10 times before we actually get someone to say yes. I get in touch with them, they book the appointment, but I'm constantly having people just not show up to these booked appointments. Or I show up on the property and the homeowner is completely unaware and doesn't remember that they booked the appointment. First of all, you're not alone. This happens all the time. I want to institute something that I think is going to be pretty powerful, but I may get pushback. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with this. I'd love to find out. Many of you will. You need to start moving away from single bookings to double bookings if possible. I realize that if you run a hair salon and you're a stylist, double booking people may not be the best idea because now you're gonna have two people, you can't service them. What if they both show up, etc. And if you are going to a property, you can't double book someone to the property because you can't be in two places at one time. So I'm going to talk about small teams and then I'll talk about big teams, how to make your double bookings work, etc. When you have that appointment initially set, before we even get to double bookings, make sure that you're getting that appointment set within a 48-hour to 72-hour window. If you're beyond 72 hours, we've seen with our own clients, because we have a team that does all of the follow-up for our clients. So we've seen with our clients when they don't have the right calendar availability and their calendar is completely stacked up, even with double bookings, if we're going past 72 hours, the likelihood that someone's going to show up drops from maybe a 40% chance of them showing up or 50% chance down to a 20 or 15% chance that they're going to show up. So 3 or 4 days out, people are done. They're on to the next thing. They don't care anything about what your product is, especially if the lead was generated on a platform that is not an intent-based platform, like Google is an intent-based platform. If it's generated on another platform that is built around interactions like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these guys are more than likely not going to remember or feel that importance to show up to your appointment. So getting back to it, how does double bookings work? Essentially, you just book two people for the same time. If you know your data says I, on average, get 40 to 60% of all bookings to show, therefore, there's a great chance here that if I book two people, only one person's going to show up. Now, in my martial arts schools and my corporate locations that we have, we actually don't just double book, we triple or we quadruple book. And the reason why we do that is because we can handle multiple people at the same time doing their first introductory lesson because everybody gets the same lesson. Now, you, again, kind of going back, if you're a hairstylist, you can't cut two people's hair at one time unless you have an assistant that's going to be starting one cut, and then you can finish the other cut and kind of handle both at the same time. So those are some things that you've got to take into consideration. Can I double book in my current service model? And if you can't double book in your current service model, for instance, you have to go to a homeowner's home, right? And so you don't want to waste your time going out to that homeowner's home. Then there's a couple other things that you need to make sure you start installing. And I would say this would be important for anybody. And the first thing is we want to make sure that as soon as that appointment is booked, we're going to start hitting those pain points or those goals or those desires that that person has by sending them additional context or additional information. Just because they book the appointment doesn't mean that they're totally convinced in your product or your service. So we need to have some automation set up to get text messages out or emails out in order to help concrete that desire that hopefully you discovered while you were talking to them over the phone or you were texting them. The next thing that we're going to want to do, especially if we're anchoring our business, like they're coming to us, we're not going to them, is we need to make sure they know where we're located. If you're a brick and mortar business, you need to make sure you screenshot where you're located on Google Maps and include the time of the appointment. If you're an online business, the time of the appointment is the anchor. Hey, I've got you scheduled for this time. And it's going to be, is it a Zoom call? Is it a phone call? Be very clear about what type of call it is going to be as well. Now, we've done all those things. What's another thing that we can do besides double booking to get them more likely to show? Well, we can do confirmations. So I believe it's like 69% of all consumers actually do not consume or do not read text messages that are auto text messages. These are text messages that have been sent out that are like, hey, don't forget your appointment's tomorrow at whatever time, 2 p.m. They ignore it. I mean, when I get my chiropractor message every single week, to be honest, I ignore it unless I'm just uncertain of the time, but I ignore it. Most everybody else is doing the same exact thing. So how do you actually get someone to engage and make sure that they're going to show up for their appointment? Well, you have to ask engagement questions and you have to disguise your confirmation message as something else. So I might have something that I'm dangling out there as a carrot for them to get when they show up. I had a conversation with one of my uh, friends in the space, and one of the things that he said that he had one of his clients doing is they actually were asking someone what they wanted DoorDashed, like what kind of Starbucks drink did they want DoorDashed at the time of their appointment. And they were doing this in the dental niche. And I was like, why would, like, we're door dashing Starbucks to a dental appointment? It was like a dental implants appointment. And he was like, yeah, it actually got people to show up because they wanted the free Starbucks. And I was like, oh my gosh. No, I've never done that in my businesses before where I was like, okay, I'm going to door dash you a Starbucks. But we have dangled other things out. So, like in my physical businesses, um, just getting someone to show up for the appointment would be something like, hey, we have these different t-shirts, what color, what size, etc. And I'm asking them a question, like in the martial arts business, I'm asking them a question of which shirt size or what color in order to get them to respond. Those work really well. And it also deploys the law of reciprocity, which just means if I give you something, you're more likely to give me something. That's kind of how that works. Now let's go way over here. So we talked about this broad spectrum. We had these guys over here that, the appointments are automatic. So we got to reach out. We got to get in touch with them. And then we have these guys over here that you're getting some sort of deposit. You're getting something before you actually go and service this person. I'm going to say that in that model, you've got to be a lot better at sales, but not the selling of the deposit or the appointment fee. You've got to be really great at converting that appointment fee into your higher level or higher ticket service. And what I've found is that a lot of people just aren't. In the martial arts industry, for example, with a lot of my clients that are martial arts clients, they're in gyms. There's a model out there where you would do, like, let's say 6 weeks for $69 or 2 weeks for 29 or something gimmicky like that. And you would get a lot of responses out of this type of trial. Then what would happen is you would take the payment over the phone, but there was no expectation set for what's next after the 2 weeks. And that's really the kicker. So if you are going to run a special like that, you need to be really adamant about converting that into something else. For example, when we did it in our school, that at the time, which I don't do this anymore because it's hard to scale. Like it works at smaller scales, but it's hard to scale. So when we were doing it, we would really go heavy on the pre-frame, on the fast action discount if you converted your trial over on that first lesson. And we had to keep chasing this person for 2 weeks, 3 weeks to try and get them to convert. Ultimately, the reason why it didn't work in my particular situation is we had a ton of students. I had limited team and I didn't have we had so many trials coming through the door. I did not have the team to keep up with the conversions. And so our conversion rate was less than just doing a free appointment and then converting on the first appointment. So we went back to just doing a free appointment and then converting on the first appointment because it worked better for us. But if you're going to take a deposit, if you're going to take something like that, you've got to have something on the other end, right? Something that you're going to convert them into, something that is going to make sense for this person to go, oh, yeah, I can definitely do that. Now, how do you handle no shows? People just ghost you. They set the appointment and they don't show up. Just remember, this is a numbers game. The moment that you start emotionalizing what's actually happening is the moment that you're going to have issues forever with the appointment setting process. Don't emotionalize it. It's just a numbers game. You know that for every 2 appointments that you set, only one's going to show, statistically speaking. Unless you have some sort of payment that you're processing over the phone, then they're more likely to show because you've already made a micro sale. Okay. Now, another thing that's going to be important is when I understand this, if I understand that someone's not likely to show, then as soon as they don't show, I need to be reaching out to them to reschedule them because I almost got them to this finish line, but they just didn't cross it. And I already spent money to acquire that customer. So if I can get them and pull them across the finish line by just getting the next appointment that's available, not like 3 weeks out, but hey, I've got an appointment later today at this time, or I can squeeze you in tomorrow morning at this time. That's going to result in more people actually making it to the appointment. I've heard so many people tell me if they don't show up for their appointment, they're dead to me. That is the worst way to run a business. A worst way. They didn't show up because life happened. They didn't show up because maybe you had an issue, just like I've had an issue with the final thing that I'm going to go over, the real reason why people don't show up to your appointments. And that is because they don't trust you. They have no reason to trust you. You look like everybody else in the marketplace. They don't know what's different about your business from the business that's right up the street that offers the same service. Even if you're like, well, I do a better job, it doesn't matter. They don't trust you. You don't have brand in your area, in your community. So if you don't have brand in your area and in your community, if people don't know why you exist, what your mission is, what your values are, then they're not going to align themselves to you. They're not going to feel drawn to you more than to another one. And then it comes down to something that is really challenging to beat, and that's trying to compete on offers. Because in an unsaturated market, all you need is a slightly better offer than someone else, and then you're going to get the traffic coming to you. But if everybody in your area has ran through the gambit of different offers and now you're competing with tons of different people, it's going to be very hard to compete on an offer itself. And you're going to get to the point where you've completely commoditized what it is that you offer. And now you're competing with your competitors' pricing instead of competing on your price alone because you're a unicorn. There's nobody else in your area that exists. So, how do you build trust? What is it that you can do? That is what we're covering in this video.